Can you please share with us, if you can, what are the constraints you've observed over the decades?
When you look at successive leadership in Nigeria or in African continent, in fact, the greatest problem they have has been the followership.
The followership. And from that, I extrapolated that what the society, Nigerian society needs right now is to begin to focus attention away from the leaders as much as possible.
But on that 5%.
And focus it on that critical 5%, top 5%. Because you've also been a major player in the media industry. These days, a lot of public broadcasters, how would you assess their role and performance? Would you give it to them?
No. It says public service broadcasting had to be a public service.
Okay.
Public convenience, public interest. They have to ask themselves, and we can ask that question. Are they serving public interest? Because government interest is not necessarily public interest.
It's not.
And that is because the concept of ownership of public broadcasting in this country is wrong. Governments are not owners.
Yes.
They are trustees.
They are trustees.
The people are the owners in two ways. First, they're going to use a spectrum, either as license or channel or frequency. Is the spectrum that belongs to all of us as Nigerians. We all own it.
Yeah.
It is not owned by a government. It is not owned by any rich man. We all, poor, rich, 205 million of us, we own it. Secondly, when you set it up, unlike here, you bought your own camera. Government uses the taxes of the people to buy the camera, transmitter and all. So in two ways, the public broadcasting stations are owned by the people. Now the government does a trustee. Now the government converts public service to government service. Public interest to government interest. And unfortunately, the professionals give up.
That's where I was going, because it seems the operators themselves see themselves more as a megaphone of the people in government. You've been chairman at a public broadcasting outfit before, and you'll be able to tell us, when you made effort to get the operators to see that they are custodians, they are gateways and gatekeepers of information for the public rather than the people in government, what form of cooperation did you get, or assistance, as it were?
Naturally, in all the places I have been, they've been happy. I have found that most public broadcasters are not happy with the situation in which they find themselves. But then they have to be led, either by the chairman or the general manager.
Leadership again.
They have to be led.
Still comes back to leadership.
It comes to leadership. I was GM in Ibadan, and I was invited by the military governor, who told me he had a signal from Dodambara that said that all media houses must submit their news bulletins to the military governor's office for approval before he did the news or casting the news. And he showed me the signal. And I smiled. I said, "What are you smiling?" I said, "There is only one way you can get it done in that station." He said, "Which way? You first have to sack me. But so long as I remain there, it will not happen." He said, "Yeah, why will it not happen?" I said, "You are an expert in handling guns. I won't tell you how to handle a machine gun. So you can't tell me how to manage a news bulletin." So he looked at me. He said, "I trust you. Just go." But I know at that time, there were stations who submitted their news.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That was during the Ali Mongo.
Mm-hmm.
So
1977.
it's sometimes it's a function of
And these days, I'll be surprised if we get 0.000001% of those who occupy leadership positions in those spheres asserting themselves professionally as you did.
Maybe also because when we were doing the television service for your state, Bolagi was governor, and he told me that we libeled him. And I said, if we have libeled, we go to court.
And he appointed you?
Yes. And he went to court.
Oh, the governor, sitting governor, took a state broadcast station to court.
That's what is now called BCS TV.
No, I'm not getting this. Chief Bolage was governor of Oyo State. He alleged the state television station of libeling him.
Yes.
And you, as the leader of that television station at that time, asked him to go to court.
Yes.
And he went to court.
He went to court. And I think after 1 or 2 hearings, he asked that they should drop the case. Today, the leader will sack me.
He would.
So there is something also in the mentality of those who run government, thinking that those stations were created to massage their ego. No, they are public service at public convenience and at public interest. And you must encourage them, because the public broadcaster, if they do their job properly in setting agenda, in a comprehensive reportage of what is happening in the society, in conferring status on the right people, they may be giving government unfiltered truth about what is happening. Because sometimes I have discovered that those in government are in an enclosure that they don't know the truth of what is happening, because they are ministers, special assistants, senior special advisors, and all of them only spend time massaging their ego, telling them the untruth.
So that's why we have so much
So if
disconnect.
we have a public broadcasting like BBC, for example. You know what Margaret Thatcher called BBC during the Falkland War?
No.
He said, an enemy within gate.
Really?
Because BBC reported that the Argentinian forces were defeating the British troops in Falkland. But there was nothing she could do about it. The public deserve to know the truth. So both the public, and that includes the governor and the governor. So when they don't know the truth, then they can't take the right decisions. And so in creating this critical mass, the mass media has a major fundamental role to play. It is an agenda that they must consider as primary to their public interest function. If we are going to get the visionary leadership to be able to win elections, then they must assist in preparing this 5%, in harnessing them, in networking them, making them available to these visionary leaders, so that the mass of the people can, at election time, deliver these visionary leaders.
Now, I'd like to come to reality. Theoretically, this seems very logical. It seems very plausible. I can relate to it. But there's this concept of stomach infrastructure that has become the prevailing mindset amongst our people today. So even if we're able to get this top 5% to key into the agenda of a visionary leader, do you see stomach infrastructure as something that could be wiped away overnight like that?
It can be. because I've also been in politics. I know you sometimes tell the people, you know, we don't have money to give you, but take their money, but don't vote for them. And they will agree with you.
And it happened?
And they would, yes, they will take the money and not vote.
Did that happen?
Yes. I have seen money bags lose elections.
Okay, I have to.
Because the critical five tell the people, you say the people trust this 5%.
This 5%.
That they will not mislead them. That they are part of them, they understand their problem, they understand their aspiration, they know their hopes. So when you tell them don't vote for that person, it's going to injure your future, they will believe it. But you know, that person you're asking them to vote has no money. And they want so much infrastructure. So we tell them, take their money, but don't vote for them, and they will do.
There seems to be a decline in terms of the political consciousness
There is a decline.
level.
There is a decline because those who ought to help in teaching the people had also declined.
This top 5%.
Yes.
We're still going back to them.
Yes. We need to reinvigorate them. We need to, I wish we have an opportunity, we need to force them. You know, if they're looking the wrong way, force them to look the right way. We have to get this society right. And I like people to go and look at BC Akadia and Osun State.
Okay.
Of course, it didn't get a second term because of that. It took a look at the service, it took a look at the bureaucracy, and began to sack people, remove them. Of course, he lost the second term. But he delivered within those 4 years.
Yes.
Perhaps if the society was ready for that kind of leadership, maybe we would have had 8 years of leadership. So you
to consolidate.
But I also always tell him it's because you didn't create a 5% that understood what you were doing. They have to understand. They have to see that ultimately, if the society gets better, they get better. All the people who come and line up in the front of their houses looking for breakfast and lunch and supper won't have to do. All the responsibilities they carry, pay other people's school fees, hospital bills, and so they won't have to do if we have a better society. So you have to do what I call a fusion of vision. You have to let them see that a good society benefits them. It doesn't erode from the value of whatever they have. It is poverty of their brains that makes them to believe that if they are the only one who has money, that's their own definition of wealth. No. When you have all the stars at night, some are bright, some are not bright, but they're out there.
Yes.
When they are out there, even when there is no moon, the sky is well lit. So it is better to create a multiplicity of good people, of comfortable people, what the Yorubas will call borokene.
Yes.
Have so many of them. The only rich man will enjoy his wealth. Nobody will worry about his children or his wife. They won't threaten. Peter Eke was a professor of political science in UI. He used to talk about the people and the state. In what we call civilized countries, the people are stronger than the state. And therefore they can impose their values, their authentic cultural values on the state. And that is why if a minister was caught in Soho with prostitute, he knew he had to go, because the society will not take that.
So even before the society comes after him, he will have relinquished and moved on.
But here, the society is broken. So the state is stranded. They have all the paraphernalia. We've lost the values. The families are broken. The parents are no longer parenting. The historical antecedent that make people proud. So we lost values. Absolutely. And when we lose values of good neighborliness, of godliness, of hard work, of self-discipline, and all of that, then what is left?
Coming up.
The UNCP, which you were a very prominent figure of, adopted General Abacha in those days. All the 5 political parties adopted only one candidate. Would you like to shed some light as to how that happened?
It's a very interesting story. And government corroborates or collaborates and says, don't teach history.
Yes.
Have you heard of a people with today with no yesterday?
No sense of history. So we don't know where we're coming from.
We don't know where we're coming from. Nobody cares about that. Then they say don't teach civics. All those poems we old people recite today, we learned at school. People are talking of COVID, and I say, we are taught at school, we are taught at school, wash your hands before you eat and all of that. We didn't need a COVID pandemic to teach us that.
Yes.
But all of that we've lost at school. And why did we lose it? Because our elites got to a situation and said, we must have different roads to education. You know, I think it was Stalin who demonstrated with a live hen that even if you hurt the chicken, pulling its feather one by one with blood, but when you throw corn,
a few grains of corn,
it will follow you. That's what they're doing.
And that's what is happening.
You make the poor man poor. You make it stricken. You make him broken. And then you dangle 5,000 naira in the market.
He rushes it.
As money for you. So what do we do?
Exactly.
Do we just give up?
No.
We must not.
We mustn't.
Because if we give up, the disaster that awaits all of us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, will be so tragic that the good will regret not taking action. One scientist once said the hottest part of hell will be reserved for that man who knows what to do and refuses to do it.
Okay.
So those elements who are good in this society, who understand what ought to be done but are refusing to do it, either for fear or because it doesn't concern me,
No
I
self-interest.
don't have children in schools any longer, and so on. When the roof collapses, it's not going to single the good man out. It's going to collapse on all of us.
The UNCP, which you were a very prominent figure of, adopted General Abacha in those days. All the 5 political parties adopted only one candidate. Would you like to shed some light as to how that happened when all the 5 national political parties decided they were all going for one presidential candidate?
It's a very interesting story. That I've never told anybody.
Oh dear.
All the parties were stampeded into adopting General Abacha. So we got to Kaduna. The night before, all the delegates from Southwest, we met in an hotel. And I told them, if I'm still your leader, leading you to this meeting, none of you will talk. You just keep quiet and look. So we got to the stadium. And of course, there were strategies too. So they insisted that I must do the opening prayer. But they couldn't find me.
Really?
I was in the OB van of FRCN.
You deliberately went to stay there?
So when they didn't find me, they found somebody else to do it. Until they finished the discussion, I was in that OUI.
So you tactically silenced yourself and your members,
Yeah.
your followers from the Southwest.
Yeah.
It was tactical on your part.
Yeah. Because the alternative is that they'll be destroyed. So don't talk. Because your people will destroy you at home. Don't talk. So that these people also may not destroy you. And those of them who are there, they will recall that when we finished and were driving out, the Yorubas were at the gate of the stadium.
Really? Even in
Yes,
Kaduna?
in Kaduna. The Yorubas living there. Ready to deal with the Yorubas. But having monitored what happened on air, they allowed us to pass. Sometimes, if if you find yourself in difficult position, then rely on God's wisdom. He will tell you. The collectivity of your experience
Collectivity
and divine
of
guidance will tell you
and divine guidance.
that be silent.
You need to
I was
apply
silent.
tact.
I'm right out of it.
But will that have happened today?
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 Yes.
Will the delegates still listen to their leaders today? Because we hear about a lot of money changing hands at political conventions,
yes.
where even horse trading, where people just betray their leadership that took them from home to the center.
You see, it depends on the kind of leadership you have built.
Okay.
If you have been making money at their expense, of course they won't follow you. But if they know you will stand by them even in the heat that may be generated by whatever action.
Whatever action. Why don't we have memoirs from our leaders as we used to in those days and as is obtainable in other climes? Is it because they have so many things to hide?
Sometimes maybe because they want to hide things. Me, for example, if anybody wants to write about me, he can. But I won't write about myself because sometimes I see autobiographies as self-glorification from Nigerian point of view.
And that's how people don't read it.
I don't.
So you can only speak for yourself. You can't speak for other people.
No.
Because how do we pass on the experience? You learn from people in two ways: what people are doing right, what they're doing wrong. How do the succeeding generations learn when memoirs are not written, when documentaries are not produced?
If we are talking about corrosion of values, how can you accuse a child to have corroded the value that he didn't know about?
You can't give what you don't have.
No. So somebody has to tell him the value, has to show to him from verifiable example that that value translates to success, goodness, well-being.
It seems like these days, even when the Southwest goes to a convention, they have some leaders. Everybody has leaders, but they will have so supplanted their loyalists across the rank and file of the political cadre and structure that to get there and speak with their own personal conscience will be difficult. The ward level, the chairman, the secretary, is some garrison commander or some political godfather's implants or supplants. And that's why I said the leader who is going with a coterie of delegates who have been nominated by various regional garrison commanders, as it were. So the chances of they going there to listen to their own conscience or to listen to the conscience or the moral high ground of the leader seems to be very slim these days.
Yes, there are two issues in what you are saying.
Okay.
The Yorubas have one saying that it's easier to lead dogs to war than to lead men. Because when a dog decides to go back, it turns back.
Yes.
When a man had decided not to follow you, you still stand by you. But it's no longer with you.
So that's not likely to happen these days. What happened in 97 at Kaduna?
It will be difficult because you're not even sure that the man standing by you, that even though it's frustrating, his mind is not standing erect.